guys. We are live here on the Redesign with Primo Facebook page. My name is Brandy, and I'm the owner and artist behind Brush by Brandy. And it's been a while since I've seen you guys live, so I'm super excited to be here. I love a good release, so I'm so excited that Redesign wanted me to come on and show you guys some of the new collection. So what I'm going to show you first, and then we're going to work on some projects, is I'm going to show you all of the new designs in the Decor Poly collection. And Decor Poly are precast molds. They're bendable and they're beautiful designs. So we've got a whole bunch of new ones that I'm going to show you. This is what they look like here in the package. And this first one is called Ethereal Bouquet. I keep wanting to say Ethereal Buffet, and I think I just spend too much time around furniture. So when you take this out of the package, this is exactly what they look like right out of the package. So this is a beautiful floral design. It's got roses, some stems in there, and these are bendable. It's a little cold here in California today, but I'm going to show you these have some bend on them. And why that's nice is because if you're using these on furniture or anything like that, a lot of pieces can have a bow front or a slight curvature, and these will mold to the curvature of any project that you want to put them on. And I'm going to show you some of that today. So this first one's called Ethereal Bouquet. What's cool about this collection is they all kind of coordinate and go together, so they can be used with each other and they will complement each other. All right, this next one I'm going to show you is called Timeless Petals, and here's that one in the package. And then here's what this one looks like outside of the package. And this one's really cool because you could actually use it in any orientation. It can be used in a vertical or a horizontal. And I don't think this one has a really defined top or bottom. So I see this one kind of, if you were to have the base of a buffet or something, it could just be that really pretty medallion that goes at the bottom. And these make it look like it's a much more ornate piece that you're working on. Can you find those two Lazy Susans that I have out here? The already painted ones? No, the ones that are already painted. I'm going to show you guys a couple of other Decor Poly projects that I've got. Hi everyone, I can kind of see, but I can't quite read from here. Watching from Michigan. Hi everyone, how are you guys? Okay, this one is really cool because this one is called, I have to look at the name, Serene Perch. And this one has birds, branches, and I'm actually going to use this one today. And I'm going to show you what I really like about this one today. But this one comes in a right and a left-hand side. So I'll show you guys that in just a minute so you guys can see what it will look like. But if you've ever done a project that you don't have that opposing side, you know how nice it is to have a right and a left-hand side of those. So we have a right and a left-hand side of Serene Perch. And then this one is called Petals in Harmony. And I like this one because I'm going to take it out of the package. But what this actually is it's multiple pieces of the Decor Poly. And they can be used in combination with each other. Okay, so I'm going to try to hold these up all together. It's 4 pieces. So that's what they look like all together. And then if I'm going to hold them up individually, this is a single floral. Okay, so that's one design. It's kind of a larger bud with some branches. This one's got a full in bloom with some smaller little buds up at the top. This one's a little more budded, but it's got a lot of height to it. And then this one here. And what I want to show you with these is that you can take any of these other designs. So this is the Serene Perch again, and I could take these single florals. If I needed to grow this, let's say I have a project that's larger than what this will accommodate, I can grow them by putting them in combination with some of these single florals. Here I'm just kind of filling in some of the open spots, but I can combine these to make this design as large as I need it to. If I want to kind of make it go off into one corner like this, you can see how that would work, but they all work in combination with each other. This floral medallion one, Timeless Petals, you could put this in a different location on the same piece and they would absolutely work together. So, you guys want to do some Decor Poly projects? These are really fun. There's some existing designs in the Decor Poly collection, but these are more florals. The existing designs are more medallions. I'll show you an example here. This is a project that I've already done using the Decor Poly. This was actually a class that I taught at the Redesign with Prima the Redesign with Prima shop that's in Southern California. And we made this project together using the Decor Poly, but this is the Decor Poly here. And I actually used it in combination with the Redesign with Prima molds. And what it did on this project is it kind of grew them, and I was able to accentuate using that Decor Poly and then cast my own molds and create a design together. So it works really well with all of the Redesign with Prima products. This is one of their transfers here. And using everything kind of together, I find that when you combine pieces is when you get those really detailed looks. So that's one project that I did. That was a really fun class. If you guys came to that class, we had a lot of fun. Okay, so first let me show you the other side of the Serene Perch so that you can see the right and the left-hand side that I was talking about. All right, and we're going to work on both of these today, but I wanted to show you one that wasn't started yet, so we'll go ahead and apply it. But this is the Serene Perch Decor Poly here, and then here's that opposing side. So when I saw that I have opposing sides, I thought, how perfect, I can do a right and a left-hand nightstand, and they'll actually match without being completely identical. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start, and then this will be our second half of the project. We'll come back and work on this one in just a little bit. But first, let's start with a really bare bones project here. This is the same nightstand, but it just has my primer base on it, and I'm going to go ahead and apply this Decor Poly. So this piece has a little bit of flex in it, just at room temperature. Again, it's pretty cold here. I want to say we're what, in the 50s right now? Yeah, we're probably in the 50s right now. If you want more flex out of these just at room temperature, you can take these into a climate controlled space. And the warmer they are, they will get a little bit more bendy. So I'm out here, my workspace is in my garage, a little less bend to it, definitely a sunny day. They're way more flexible. So take those inside, let them acclimate to room temperature. I'm going to accelerate the process, and I'm actually going to use a heat gun. A hair dryer on a low setting will help it get a little more bend to it. But I'm going to use a heat gun today to just add a little flex to this. And the reason why is because I actually want to get the Decor Poly to kind of conform to this shape that I've got here, this little inset design. So what I worked out on these is I played with the dry placement on them a little bit to see where do I want to place this at. And I kind of moved it around because you can see the birds can either be going sideways or they could be going in a vertical. And I found that I liked it kind of coming out of this corner right here was kind of the best design. But I need to get this little branch to conform to the edge of this. And so for that, I'm actually going to add my glue first before I heat this. The reason is because this is such a large medallion that it's going to take me a minute to add the glue to the back. And if I do the heating first, it will probably cool back to room temperature by the time I get done adding glue to it. So what I'm putting on the back of this is Titebond Quick and Thick adhesive, my favorite adhesive. You guys probably have seen me use this a million times. Works great for the Decor Poly. This is just a hardware store item. And I'm just going to spread it out all over the back of my Decor Poly. So I want to make sure I get full coverage. I'm going to go all the way out to some of these edges to make sure those get full contact with my piece. I don't want to put so much glue on the back that it kind of smashes out the edges when I attach this. Got a little dry piece of glue right there, so I'm going to take it off because I don't want that to create a lump on the back. That was just like some glue boogers from the edge of my glue container. You can just rub your finger through this and smear it around with your finger, but it also will spread out when I apply this. It's going to hit that flat surface and make that glue kind of spread out a little bit more. You can apply your glue with a little paintbrush if you wanted to. Really no right or wrong way. These have a nice applicator tip on them, so I'm just using that to get it into some of these fine areas like the leaves. I just want to make sure that this has good contact. When I'm done, I want it to look like it's an original piece of this furniture piece. So I'm putting this on furniture. The project I showed you was a Lazy Susan. There's any number, you can put these on jewelry boxes, on vases. There's any number of different ways you can use these. Furniture is just one of them. Okay, so I'm just about done where I feel like I've got really good application of that glue, but I'm now going, I've got one spot I think I want to improve on a little bit. I'm now going to use my heat gun, and I'm going to add a little bit of heat to some of the areas on this that I feel like I need them to flex a little bit. This actually is, the circulating air around that glue is actually going to help it set up a little faster, which isn't a bad thing because I'm working on camera, so I want to work a little bit faster too. All right, so I just hit that for a minute, and look at how bendy this got. That is a full, like I could get this to really conform to a full curvature. Just hitting this one branch for just a few seconds with a little tiny bit of heat got it even more bendy. So these don't require heat, but if you want to get them to conform and do all kinds of gymnastics, just a little bit will go a long way. All right, I think that should be good. And what I did is I just heated some of the extremities, like this little branch here, because that's the part that I want to kind of go down into. I'm gonna find my placement here. And this branch here, I also want that to go down a little bit, so I'm probably going to add a little bit more heat once it's on my surface now that I've got this placed. So that glue is, Typon's really nice because it's got that thick texture, and so that glue just right away, it's tacky, but you can use a little bit of painter's tape, and I think I'm going to tape this little corner right here to get that to sink down and stay in that little crevice. So I'm pressing it down, making sure I have good contact on the entire design. All these little branches and things, I want them to really be pressed into place, so when that glue dries, this thing is not going to move. And I think my other one is tilted up just a little tiny bit, so I'm going to do that one, this one too. All right.
Oh yeah, everybody's knowing that Facebook was glitchy.
Oh, is Facebook glitchy today? What's going on?
Just not with us, but just in general.
Oh.
Like lately, whoever's hitting up the, whoever's doing the redesign page, that's Sharon.
It's going to be Sharon. Hi, Sharon. You guys say hi to Sharon. Okay, I'm going to heat this little branch right here, and then also this other little floral down here. And that's because those are the parts that I need to go into that molding. All right, so I mean, just a couple seconds, and then I'm going to put a piece of painter's tape because I don't want this, it's going to want to get its rigidity back as it's cooling, and I want this to remember the shape of going down into this crevice. So you can just use a little bit of painter's tape. You can use a little tack nail if you wanted to. Just put a pin nail through the medallion and it will hold it in place. Painter's tape is super easy. And I've got two little parts that ended up sitting inside that molding, and so that's where my tape is going to go. Okay, and I'll just let those cool for a few minutes, and then I can come back and take that tape off, and this will be stuck in place. So I actually want to paint this, but I do not normally recommend painting these with wet glue. You 100% want to let your glue dry. I'm going to add another piece of painter's tape on this side right here, just so it doesn't want to kind of shift at all. I want it to stay, trying to kind of match up the location of it to this other one that I've got, and I want it to stay in that location. So I'm going to add another piece of painter's tape so it doesn't want to slide while that glue is wet. So what I was saying is 100% let your glue dry. I would never paint this while it had wet glue, but guess what we're going to do today? We're going to paint it while it has wet glue on it. All right, so I want to show you how I got to this first step on this other nightstand, and then we'll come back and we're going to decorate this medallion a little bit more. But I want to show you my basic first paint step on this medallion. I'm going to use Wiesel paint. And my two colors that I'm going to get out are gray linen and foxtrot. So gray linen is going, foxtrot is going to be a deep, rich green, like a military green. And then gray linen is, you guys will see the colors as I go to put them on. And I chose these because I felt like the Serene Perch design has a very kind of natural earthy vibe. And so I wanted to keep my colors in the earthy tones, but also, I don't know if you guys can see them on camera. Let me show you guys one of these here. Okay, these are the shelves that go inside this piece. These are mid-century nightstands. So they've actually got this really nice, it's a laminate that's on here, but I think it's really nice and neutral. Actually, this reminds me of a stone that's really popular right now. And so I think I'm going to leave these, but I wanted to kind of pull my color inspiration from these earthy tones that are going to be on the shelves that go inside this, and it also matches on the tops. They're in really good condition, and I think they're just really kind of pretty. They almost have like a kind of a wood vibe to them. So I want to keep them really light, earthy, and natural. And to me, that said greens and beiges and all the colors that you would find in nature will also pick up these florals and the birds and make it all make sense. So I'm going to use one of my Klingon paint brushes, and I'm just going to start adding paint to this. And I find when I'm painting the decor poly that it's easiest to kind of use a stippling motion, and that's because there's so much detail in them. And I want to get that paint to find all those details. So for this first step, it really took me a couple minutes to kind of find all of the low points of that decor poly and make sure I get paint in it. And I even took my nightstands and tipped them backwards so I could see underneath and from a side view to make sure that I fully cover that design. You can decorate the decor poly, you can paint them. I could have put my primer over this. I wanted you guys to see what it looked like natural and going onto a piece, but they can absolutely be primed, painted. You could decorate them using the Redesign with Prima decor waxes. So they're kind of a blank slate. And this is where I'm going to show you how I would decorate this piece. So this part's probably not that interesting to watch, but I'm just kind of using that stippling motion to find all of, and my door wants to vibrate, so I'll hold it right here. I'm going to paint around this painter's tape for right now. Obviously, I would normally not start painting until that painter's tape was removed. All right, so we'll just focus on this small corner right here so I can just show you what the basics of my first step on this were, and then we'll step away and I'll go ahead and work on this second one, which is going to be far more interesting anyways. So I started with my foxtrot, which is that deep green, and then I came around it with some of the gray linen, and all I did was I let those brushes get into each other, and I'm letting it pick up that green. And I'm also using kind of irregular brush strokes, and that's because I kind of want a little bit of texture, a little bit of movement in the paint. And I'm just focusing on this corner because I've got that painter's tape and my glue definitely needs to dry, but I wanted to show you how I got this first painting step. And then I came back with a little bit of, with my brush with the foxtrot on it, and without even adding any paint, I'm going to let it overlap that gray linen. This is just a first coat. It's going to look pretty messy. This is always the stage when it looks a little bit scary. So I'm going back and forth, alternating between the brushes and kind of overlapping those colors with some random brush strokes to get those colors to model into each other. So what I kind of get is a gradation where it starts going into the gray linen up here on my drawer. And I'm not, I'm letting my brush fully pick up the color of that green because this is just a base coat. And then I wanted it to be a little kind of darker around here, pick up some of that green on the top drawer. And and then I just smudged it out with the brush with the gray linen on it. So I've got that green and kind of the gray linen kind of alternating in different places. And I just did it kind of randomly. So I'm going to let this one dry. Again, I don't recommend painting this while you have a wet decor poly on there. You want to let your glue dry. Adding the paint to it is going to slow the glue drying process. But let's go on to the next nightstand that's already dry. This is like one of those baking shows where they pull the casserole out of the oven and it's already done. See, we're sophisticated like that at Birthday Brandy. All right, so this is my dried nightstand, you guys. All right, and I started out with colors underneath that are much darker than what I actually want to use, because now I'm going to start layering some colors over the top. And the colors I want to layer, I'm going to go beige and white, and I just want a little bit of this green to sort of peek through. I'm going to shake my paint up. So I've got Cashmere, Restoration, and I also have Bone, which is a pure white. So kind of a creamy white. I've got a light beige and then a pure white. And this is the step, I think right now with the solid background, the decor poly is kind of lost. Like you don't really see the detail and stuff. But with the paint treatment that I'm going to put over top, you'll really start seeing some of those details come out, and the ways that you can use paint to accentuate these. All right. So I'm going to kind of hold these up just to show you guys what my paint colors look like that I just opened up. So you can see I've got the pure white, which is called Bone. Can you see it on my arm now? I've got Cashmere, which is a more creamy white with a little bit of gray undertones, and then Restoration is sort of that beige color. So I'm going to go, it's kind of a monochromatic finish. Anyone could throw me a rag. Thank you. If you don't get it all over your hands, you're not doing it right. All right, and I'm going to kind of do a little bit of dry brushing over these existing colors. So I'm going to load my brush. I'm going to start out with that gray linen again, and I'm just going to use very little of it. And I want to kind of start going over, and I want that green to stay in some of those low places, so I just have little hints of it. I don't have a lot of paint on my brush, so I'm just using a little bit of a swirling motion. I'm not going to dig it into those crevices, though. I'm starting up here on the drawer, and I'm going to just work my way down. Not a lot of paint on my brush, so it's just kind of skipping over some of those areas. I also am going to be kind of rough on my brushes, and these are my good Klingon brushes, so I hate to, work them like this, but they also work really good for this purpose. All right, let's come down here and do a little bit on this door. I feel like I like where that drawer is. I lied. I'm going to add a little bit of this cashmere, that creamy white color, before my paint starts drying. And I'm doing this while the paint is wet because I want those colors to start layering on each other.
Oh, there's a question for you.
What?
Who else has missed Brandy's Thursday Night Live?
Oh, you guys, thank you. It's so weird for me. So for 8 years, we went, 8+ years, longer than 8 years, we went live every Thursday night. I have 3 kids, and we started finding that the kids' schedules got more and more and more and more complex, and taking an entire night out of our schedule. I was constantly looking for a carpool and rides, and it just got really stressful. So we decided to take a break, but I've actually been really enjoying the break. It's been really nice to just focus on the kids, and people keep telling me like they're not around forever, and it's true. It feels even more fleeting. I'll have a high school senior next year. My kids do competitive sports, so they're very, very athletically active, which means our sports schedule is literally 6, if not 7 days a week. Yeah.
We'll meet each other once again in retirement.
Yeah,
That's how that
we
works.
divide and conquer. So I don't know if you can see this from far away on camera, but like the detail that this is getting in the paint. So I did this drawer up here, and now I'm going to kind of come repeat that process down on the door and go over my decor poly. So I'm starting with the gray linen, again on one of my Klingon brushes, and what I did is I dipped it in my paint, and then I kind of tapped it out on the floor so that my brush has next to no paint on it whatsoever. It's really, it's called dry, a dry brush. And I'm just going to kind of go over that green, but I'm not going to dig it into the crevices. That's why the green was on there, and I found all the crevices in that decor poly, because I want it to stay. And the dry brushing over the top is going to start picking up some of those details. And then as I need more paint, I can just dip it in. I'm tapping it off on the floor, but you could use a rag or a paper plate or something, but I just want to lay off some of that paint. So I want this to kind of be lighter around the edges, and then this area, I said that backwards, I'm sorry. I want this to kind of be lighter in the area of the decor poly so that it kind of highlights all those details. But even just as I'm going over this, it's starting to hit the high points. I'm actually just going to get a little bit of more paint on my brush just from the floor where I've been laying my brush off. And it's leaving some of that green down in the crevices. And I'm just highlighting some of the high points, and all of a sudden this medallion looks so much more detailed. So I'm starting out with my next darkest color. So you'll notice that I'm building this up for contrast, where I started with the dark green, and that now I'm going to the gray linen, which is my next darkest, and then I'll go to my next darkest, and so on until I'm up in these white tones that I started using up here. I've got 2 shades of white. I'm going to use a little bit of that pure white, but I'm going to let these dry just a little bit so that when I'm dry brushing, it just hits the high points and doesn't start moving the existing paint around. I would say probably like 2 layers while it's wet, and then you kind of need to let it dry or start moving around what you've already put on, and I don't want to do that. I do have a piece of painter's tape. This is a hinge over here, and I just have a piece of painter's tape over the hinge. This piece kind of, sometimes I paint hinges, but this one actually has really pretty hinges, so I'm going to leave those exposed.
Facebook is not being my friend and let me zoom, so just squeezing everybody in.
Sorry guys, technology. I will be recording this for a tutorial on my YouTube channel. So one good thing about having that second nightstand is I can do this one with you guys, and then I'll also have a second one that we'll do on my YouTube channel. So I think I'm still in kind of the scary phase a little bit here. I really like how this drawer is looking, and I think this first color looks a little scary. And then when I started layering that white over the top is when it really started looking really pretty. So right now, I just want to start setting off these birds and leaving that green down in the low points. And the low points of the medallion, but also the low points around all this molding, and it starts to look detailed. And I'm going to accentuate that with some waxes and stuff once my paint is all dry. All right, so that was my next color, and then we're going to work our way up, and my next lightest white was that cashmere. Again, I'm just taking a little bit off, and I'm dabbing it on the floor. I don't want a lot of paint on the brush.
Really speaks to the paint on the floor.
Yeah, well, this is my workspace, and we put down a flooring in my garage so that I could use it like that. And then, if we ever wanted to sell this house, which, man, I can't even imagine. We built this house, so... like, the idea of selling it is horrific. But I could just take this flooring up, and the garage floor would still be nice and new and clean and nice. But again, it's just a garage floor, so does anybody really care that much? Okay, so this is a little bit of that cashmere, and I'm going to come back and bring a little bit of that beige in while it's still wet. Just because I really liked the layered look that it got up here by putting these together while they were still wet. I'm not even using any water. You could use a little bit of water. I'm just using very little paint on the brush. And I just went back to the brush for the white, which is cashmere, and I'm just layering them a little bit. So I think I want in here to get a little bit darker so that it gets lighter as you go into the center of this. And I'm going to start out by layering some of these whites on top again. So have you guys been watching the lives from Redesign this morning to see this entire collection? Because I have another thing from this collection. So I was supposed to show you guys the decor poly, but there's another thing from this collection that I'm really excited about because it's really pretty. So I have another project too right next to me, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit of that too. All right, so I'm just focusing on kind of one area at a time. I just put a little bit of white here, and I want to kind of start layering this. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that beige.
Sharon says she wants to do this to her nightstands. Any chance you want to go to Kentucky?
Yes, I 100% want to go to Kentucky, but not this weekend.
No.
Okay, so listen to this. Okay, so we're supposed to go, our kids are playing in a competition this weekend in Southern California, which, you know, let me say something. Thank you to everybody who's checked in on us. We're actually up in Northern California and not impacted by the fires, but it's really hard to see our home state going through so much struggles with the recent fires. Southern California is a beautiful area where the fires happened. It's just, so my heart goes out to everybody who's affected by the fires, and thank you to everyone who's checked in on us. We are actually not affected by them, but thinking about everybody who is. So, you know, we will be going down there, and I think what's kind of cool about that is some of these local businesses didn't want to stifle the economy by shutting down everything that would normally go on in the area. We're not going to be directly where the fires are, but just to keep things going and moving and not let that area be forgotten while they're recovering. So we're going to go visit Southern California, and the high school planned a dance on Friday night, like the big winter ball for the kids. So we literally will be having to drive overnight so that the kids can go to their high school dance and still go to their competition. I know families have done this a million times before, but like this, it's going to be absolutely awful. I'm just going to be a zombie. And the nice thing about this is if I feel like I've gotten too much of one color or too much of another, I can just go over it with one of the other colors. So at this point, I've got just some of that green peeking through in the crevices. I've got a little too much green right here, and I want to take some of that away. All right, and I think that dry brushing where this medallion was getting lost, and now you start to see all the details. And the brush strokes, even in my paint, it started to pick up some of that, but it just looks very natural and kind of earthy, and there's a little bit of really pretty movement in the paint. I'm using my camera as a mirror too, and I do that a lot when I'm painting because I can look in like a mirror and I can see areas that I've missed. Like down here looks a little bit dark, which it is kind of hard to see from where I'm sitting. Normally I would want to be sitting at this head on and looking at how my colors are starting to layer. Do they look even? And then from here, I can add even more detail to this decor poly by using some of the Redesign with Prima decor waxes and bringing out some of these details. I think some gold accents will be really pretty on this with kind of the browns and the beiges and some gold hardware. So that's kind of where my mind is going.
And where can you find this?
So the decor poly, these are decor poly molds from Redesign with Prima. They're available now from your Redesign with Prima retailers. So you can check with your local retailers. You can find your local retailer at the Redesign with Primo website. You can use the find a retailer function. If you don't have one near you, most will ship to you. They have websites and most will ship to you. So these are available right now. I also have an affiliate link. These will be available there in about, probably 2 weeks. So lots of different options, and they'll, they keep adding to this collection. So we keep getting some, let's see, do I have any of the old designs out? No, I put them away. I'll show you another project though. You guys want to see another one of these decor poly designs? I have another project that I've been working on.
So you have a project on a project?
I just got a little too much of the white here. Yeah, I can see it on the camera. I'm gonna actually let that dry and I'll come back and fix that. But anytime you get a spot that's a little too heavy, and then I actually might do these legs a little dark because it's got some really pretty legs on here. I might add a little bit of the green kind of coming up like this. Just coming up off those legs. So that was a layer of the foxtrot. So I might make those legs a little darker. You can kind of see on camera how that looks pretty. Kind of accentuate them. And then they have gold feet, like little leg slips. Oh yeah, there's some. I need to clean these. But they've got these brass slips that go over the leg. So I'll have the gold hardware, some gold on my medallion, and then gold down on the feet. Need to clean those still, but that'll clean up to be a really pretty brass foot. So I think if it's a little darker going down to that brass foot, that'll be really pretty. So how I'm doing that is I'm just adding a little bit more of the green. It looks messy when you're first starting out. And the organization actually comes, and the more you add to the chaos, the more organized it starts to look. That sounds kind of funny, but, and then once I add waxes and everything, it's going to accentuate the natural shape of these nightstands. They've got a lot of pretty details, and I just added even more. Yeah, I kind of like that being darker along the bottom, and it'll just get lighter as you go up. Right, so that's the green and the white, or the green and the beige, and then a little bit of the white over the top, but I'm going to do less white because I want it to take on that darker tone. A little more of the green as you go down for that leg. So how's that look? Again, I'm using my camera as a mirror. I like that. I like that. I think I need to refine it a little bit more, and once it's done over on that side, it's hard to do that side because I have to lean across the piece. But it's starting to look very kind of pretty. I wish, Sean, can you see all the detail in this paint? Maybe I'll have you come in close.
I'll have to get in close because it's not adjusting.
Yeah, it's so pretty. The way the paint picked up all the details in the brush strokes, and then it sits on top of the decor poly.
Can you see
I
there?
need to even out. What am I seeing? This is that spot where I got too much white. Can you see it now? Kind of a blaring little dot right there. I don't like that.
Okay, now I'm going to go in. Get super close. We're going to see what you're thinking.
There's not a lot going on up in there.
Sorry for the movement, guys. I'm just going to... Nobody wants to see you. I'm zooming in on the piece.
I do this a lot. I keep looking back at the camera, but I actually do this a lot when I'm painting, and I will take pictures of a piece because sometimes it will pick up things that your naked eye doesn't see. I also brought out a little bit of brown. So this is earth, which is a nice rich brown. I might layer a little bit of that in there because, again, I'm going for that kind of natural vibe. This brush is a little big for this container. I don't want it to get too green. I really want that to just be kind of a hint that you get.
Only because you're side by side, and I'm so close now, I'm going to show them a compare.
So what I'm talking about is you can just see really in here how the paint starts picking up some of the texture in all the brush strokes that happen underneath it. And that's why I'm letting my brush strokes be kind of random, because it just is built up. It's actually really smooth to the touch, but it's got this really pretty texture underneath. So this will be a continuous layering process. I think I'll even do a little more on the drawer, just because I think I want to darken around these edges just a little bit.
I think that's kind of funny how you're looking at the camera as you're painting to kind of see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's like a mirror, and then the waxes will accentuate that even more. So I think that's going to be really pretty. I'm not happy with it right now. By all means, don't think this is how I'm going to leave it, or that I think this is like, you know, done and I'm giving it my stamp of approval. I'm going to continue the layering. And so I mainly just wanted to show you guys what those brush strokes look like, and then how it starts to bring out all the details in that decor poly. But this is going to be a continuous layering process. I tried a little bit of that brown, but I don't think I really care for it. But I do like that little bit of darker green down at the bottom. It's hard to stop. Like, it's kind of fun once you get going. And then the final step will be a little bit of this pure white just right over the top. So we'll get progressively lighter as I go up, and it's just going to be a series of the green and the gray and the beige and the white. And I think I'm only going to do the white like right around the decor poly. So it looks like it kind of has a halo around it. That it's really pretty how it's dark down in the crevices. Man, I want to show you guys another project, but it's so hard to stop once you get going. So there's not a lot of precision to it. It's actually a really pretty freeing technique. I think this, I have a little bit of primer on here that I just need to wipe off, but this is going to complement these kind of natural looking wood, faux wood tops really pretty too. So you guys want to work on another project too? I had a hard time choosing what I wanted to do. So when that's the case, you do a little bit of everything, right? I only have a few more minutes and someone's going to come on after me. You guys, today and tomorrow, there are lives from a bunch of Redesign with Prima artists. Yes, what's the other project? All right. Let's see the other project.
And away we go.
All right, this one is a decoupage project. Oh, where is it? Oh, it's over here. And what I look for when I look for, I'm going to push these back a little bit so I can move my decoupage project a little bit more in front of me. All right, so this is a really basic piece of furniture. It's flat front. So flat fronts are great for decoupage projects. They're kind of a blank slate and it's screaming for some more detail to be added to it. I painted the entire body in a black paint. So that's what you see out here on the edges is black. This is also Wise Owl paint. And then I've got gray primer on here. Normally you want white underneath your decoupage, but this is a really light gray. So I think it's going to work just fine. And let me show you guys this paper that I'm going to put on here. So this is called Nature Academia, and it's absolutely stunning. I think this is going to be crazy popular. You ready?
Do you need a drum roll?
Yeah, I felt like that was kind of my drum roll. All right. I'm trying to hold this up and get out of the way so you can see it. But that is what will go on here. Okay, so you'll notice that my paper is a little bit shorter. It doesn't go all the way to the bottom. I'm going to paint up and blend my paint in to start blending the paper. That's why my paint fades out and I start into that primer very gradually, right? It's so pretty, huh? I love this paper. It is stunning. I think this is going to be so striking. So while I hold this up, Let me show you. These are going to be the legs. It's up on a furniture dolly right now, but then I'll have some really gold hairpin legs on there. And then you guys want to see what my hardware will look like?
You want some help there?
I just have to see what it was. All right, and my hardware is these guys here. So those will go in the center, down the front of this, and I'll have those gold hairpin legs. But you guys want to start applying this paper here. Let's go ahead and do this top drawer. I don't think I'll have time for the entire thing, but we can go ahead and get this drawer, this first drawer in here. Can you grab me a razor knife? That's one thing. Oh wait, never mind, I've got one right here. I do have one. Probably not very sharp, but it'll work. All right, so for this first drawer here, I want to center this. I want to center my paper. So I'm going to look for, I will have a little overhang on either side that needs to be trimmed. So I'm going to look for my center. I want to line it up at the top of my drawer. Always makes me super nervous to cut these. I can use a little bit of painter's tape, which I think I will because I don't want to get this wrong. Only get one shot, right? Let's pull my drawer out just a little bit. It also is really easy to, I can take the drawers out and do this while they're sitting on the floor, but then you guys can't see what I'm doing.
Here, I got a whole circle.
Tear this in, and this will help me hold it in place. So this is the A1 decoupage fiber from Redesign. These are kind of their high-end decoupage papers. It does have a weave to it. So what that means is it's not, let me show you up close on camera. You guys see the weave in that? It's easier to see on the dark colors too. See, it's got a little bit of a weave in there. Whatever color you put underneath this, it will cast through. And you might think, oh, it's got a black background, I should put black under it. But then what's going to happen is it's really going to camouflage like these leaves and the colors in the moth. You won't see those as vividly. So having a white, or in this case, I'm using a light gray, a light color will make those colors pop. All right, and once I feel like I've got this centered, I'm going to tape it in place. I'm just eyeballing it by making sure that I've got the same amount of excess on either side. And then I'll make my cut, but I'm going to make my cut a little bit larger than my drawer. All right, that feels about even on both sides. I can see I've got my hardware holes here, and it lines up with the center of the antenna. So I can tell I'm kind of in the right range as far as keeping this on center. But I'm going to cut this. Woo! You guys as nervous as I am? Yep, because I need this piece of tape to stick, and it's folded over. So let me get a new one. Take your time when cutting your paper. Get your cuts right. Did I hear a razor knife out?
Yes. With a sharp blade, because I knew it was coming.
This one's absolutely stinks. All right, I got another piece of tape because that one had kind of folded over and wasn't really holding my paper where it wanted, and then a sharp knife will help. And I'm going to just use the bottom of my drawer as a guide, and I'm going to ride along the bottom of my drawer, making sure I don't get wrinkles in my paper as I go. And in theory, that's a nice straight line, right? In theory, huh? Just watching the top edge, making sure that's not falling as I go. Okay, making sure I'm not getting wrinkles in the paper. Easier to cut going this way just because I'm right-handed. And I'm not cutting it super tight to the bottom of the drawer. I'm having a little bit of excess. I will trim this. Got a little piece on the sides, and I can just cut that with. You can also mark it out with maybe a piece of chalk. Having this down, having the drawer out would have made that much easier to cut. All right, and then I'll save that, and I've got my first piece on here is cut. So let's go ahead and apply it. And I apply my decoupage. I really like for the redesign with Prima papers to use their decoupage gel. The reason is because this is sort of a woven fiber. The decoupage gel is a thicker medium and it will kind of fill some of the texture on this paper. And once I put a layer of this underneath and then over the top, I usually will do 2 coats over the top. It gives a nice smooth finish. So I'm going to take this off and I'm done with my painter's tape. I'm watching the time and I'm going to use a little bit of my decoupage gel. So it's a really thick gel. I'm using kind of a not so great brush, and that's because you do not want this stuff to dry in your brushes. It is fiercely strong. So as soon as you apply your decoupage gel with your brush, a nice thick coat, go wash your brush. Don't let it dry in there. You will regret it 100%. You're going to find out how strong the decoupage gel is really fast. Don't ask me how I know that. You can let your brushes sit in water and they will soften, but it's just much easier to dry them while they're still wet. So this will be a pretty easy piece to finish because aside from painting the straight black around the outside edges, applying this decoupage paper is really a simple process. And then I get a really ornate looking piece that doesn't have a lot of artistic design. So some people like more artistic techniques, you know, if you have an interest in that, but it's also nice to know you can achieve really artistic looking finishes in a pretty simple way. So my decoupage gel is on there. Now I want to find, see my paper I had like this. This paper, there really isn't a defined front and a back. It's pretty similar on both sides. I just remember how I cut this. And I'm going to find that center again. When I do the second drawer, I'm going to want to make sure these line up. Now, let me show you guys something that's really nice about this decoupage gel. I can press this in. And if I feel like I messed up on the placement, I can pull it right back again and press it back in again. The redesigned papers are very friendly to lay. So I'm making sure that I line up the flat edge, the factory edge of my paper to the top flat edge of that drawer. And then I can start pressing it in place, kind of working my way outward. Okay, and now that I've got that side, I'm going to come over here and lift this a little bit. It's a little, see how I can keep pulling that paper back and I'm just able to line it back up with my drawer as I go. Super friendly to lay. I try to not rub these papers too much because they have a fiber to them, and the more you rub, I avoid sanding them. But the more you rub, you're going to disturb those fibers. Okay, and then this is the redesigned scraper, and I'm just pressing it into that decoupage gel. On this side that I've already got laid, it's a nice thick coat underneath. You can also use the redesigned brayer and press it into that bed of decoupage gel. I like how the scraper was doing better. Pushing out all those air bubbles and getting it to really set into that bed of decoupage gel. Now I already have 1 coat of black paint on the edges of my drawers, but I will go back and do a second coat so it's a fully saturated black around the outer edges. All right, and then once this is on here, I can trim. Trim this piece right here. I'm not going to use this. This is too small of a piece. Trim this one here. And then where I have my hardware holes, that will need a hole in it also. But I just want to show you guys because that hardware is gorgeous. How that gold hardware will look against that black design. So it's going to be very, very, very vibrant. And then let me hold this up again so you guys can kind of see. I'll do each drawer, the next one, and then this one is where I'm going to start painting in this paper a little bit. All right, so can you kind of see where we're going? But I got 1 drawer down. All right, so this paper again is called Nature Academia. It's 24 by 33 inches. That's a pretty darn good fit. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, you guys, we showed you guys a lot. New designs in the Decor Poly collection. The one I'm using is called Serene Perch. It comes in a right and a left-hand side. So like I'm using it for a set of nightstands. I will get these finished up and they will have a video on my YouTube channel for the full process. You guys can see that paint process a little bit slowed down and a little more in detail. It's going to be a lot of layering. And so that'll be up at Brush by Brandy on YouTube when that's all done. Along with this decoupage project here as well. So I can't wait to show these to you guys. Guys, I hope you enjoy all the projects that are coming from Redesign to show off all the different ways how to use this new release. Really beautiful designs. You can find everything that I used through your local retailer, including the decoupage gel, the scraper blade, the papers, the Decor Poly, all of that stuff. Let's see. Is there anything I've missed? Those are available through your local retailers. I will pop off and let you guys go. Thank you guys for thinking of me and coming back for another live. I've missed you guys too. It's been so weird to not be live every week, but a really good break. So thank you for all the messages and everything, and I will catch you guys later.